Phases of menstrual cycle. In females, the reproductive period starts from puberty and ends at menopause. A range of cyclic changes occur in both the uterus and the ovary during this reproductive period. These changes occur in a cyclic manner with a periodicity of about 28 days, involving the shedding of blood for the first 3 to 5 days and ovulation on the 14th day of the cycle. This cyclic change involves different stages called the phases of the menstrual cycle. The bleeding phase of the menstrual phase is one of the most prominent parts of the stages of menstrual cycle. The whole process is managed by hormones with the key players being estrogen, progesterone, luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. Menstrual cycle is divided into 4 phases: menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulation phase and luteal phase. These phases affect the tissue structure of the endometrium controlled by the ovarian hormones. A cycle usually lasts about 28 days but can even go up to 36 days. The length differs among women. The first day of your period is day 1 of your cycle. You count your cycle from the first day of bleeding in 1 month to the first day of bleeding in the next month. Thus, accordingly, you would say you have a 29-day cycle or a 27-day cycle, and so on. Menstruation occurs due to the absence of fertilization, that is, if the ovum is not fertilized. Menstrual phase. The menstrual phase is the first stage of menstrual cycle characterized by vaginal bleeding, lasts for 3 to 5 days. Physiologically, this is the terminal phase of the menstrual cycle when the endometrium is shed down to the basal layer along with blood from the capillaries and with the unfertilized ovum. Menstrual phase starts when an egg from the previous cycle is not fertilized. Because pregnancy has not taken place, levels of the hormones estrogen and progesterone drop. The thickened lining of the uterus, which would support a pregnancy, is no longer needed. So the thickened lining of the uterus is shed during the menstrual period. On average, women are in the menstrual phase of their cycle for 3 to 7 days. The typical volume of blood loss during menstruation is approximately 30 ml. Any amount greater than 80 ml is considered abnormal. A normal period may have these symptoms: low abdominal pain and cramps, tender breasts, bloating, acne, mood swings, irritability, headaches, tiredness, low back pain. Some months your breasts may feel tender when you have your period. Other months you may notice bloating around your abdomen or mood swings. Follicular or proliferative phase. The follicular phase starts on the first day of the period and ends when you ovulate. During this phase, reproductive hormones start to rise in preparation for ovulation. The pituitary gland secretes follicle stimulating hormone that stimulates the egg cells in the ovaries to produce small sacs called follicles. Each follicle contains an immature egg. It takes 13 days for the egg cell to mature, and only the healthiest eggs will eventually mature. While the egg cell matures, its follicle secretes a hormone that stimulates the uterus to develop a lining of blood vessels and soft tissue called endometrium. The endometrium is thinnest during the period and thickens throughout this phase until ovulation occurs. The uterus does this to create a place where a potential fertilized egg can implant and grow. During this phase, you might notice higher energy levels, glowing skin, and your sex drive may start rising. Ovulation phase. This usually occurs mid-cycle, around 2 weeks or so before menstruation starts, but this can change cycle to cycle. On the 14th day of the cycle, the pituitary gland secretes a hormone that causes the ovary to release the matured egg cell. This is what starts the process of ovulation. An egg is released from the ovary into the fallopian tube. The egg travels down the fallopian tube toward the uterus to be fertilized by sperm. Ovulation happens at around day 14. If you have a 28-day cycle right in the middle of your menstrual cycle, it lasts about 24 hours. Your ovulation day is your most fertile time and often happens around 2 weeks before your next period. It's very common to feel much more interested in sex midway through your cycle or when you ovulate. You can tell that you are ovulating by symptoms like these. Rise in basal body temperature. Your basal body temperature is your temperature when you are fully at rest. Ovulation may cause a slight increase in basal body temperature. Cervical mucus becomes clearer and thinner with a more slippery consistency similar to that of egg whites. Some women may experience other symptoms when they are ovulating, including breast tenderness, bloating, and mild lower abdominal pain, but these are not a reliable way of predicting ovulation. Many women will experience these ovulation symptoms for up to 5 days before ovulation, and they may last for a day after ovulation. Luteal or secretory phase is the time between ovulation and before the start of menstruation when the body prepares for a possible pregnancy. An egg is expelled from the ovary into the pelvic cavity. The egg cell released during the ovulation transforms into corpus luteum and begins to produce progesterone as well as estrogen. Progesterone levels peak about halfway through this phase. The rise in hormones keeps the uterine lining thick and ready for a fertilized egg to implant. If you do get pregnant, your body will produce human chorionic gonadotropin. Human chorionic gonadotropin is known as the pregnancy hormone because it generally rises to detectable amounts only when a woman is pregnant. If no fertilization occurs, the corpus luteum will start to break down between 9 and 11 days after ovulation. This results in a drop in estrogen and progesterone levels, cause the blood vessels to constrict and tissue of the endometrium to break down and the menstrual phase of the next cycle to begin. Menstruation begins and the whole cycle starts all over again. The hormonal changes of the luteal phase are associated with common premenstrual symptoms that may people experience, such as mood changes, headaches, acne, bloating, changes in sexual desire, and breast tenderness. Thank you.